so if you need still a couple of minutes, just indicate me. Are you ready?
Couple of minutes.
Maybe 2 minutes. Yesterday we have Civic Council and the MFA as our partner here in this meeting. So, Your Excellency, thank you very much for having us here. And this visit is devoted to showing what we have at the moment in Ukraine on the ground vis-à-vis reforms, vis-à-vis situation on Donbass, with Russian aggression, with other issues.
Sorry, I'm dealing with the Transnistria conflict, right. And maybe we'll ask somebody else to elaborate.
I'm just trying to tell something about this group.
Okay.
And
that's too much for me.
Okay, I understand. So we will start, and I'm happy to present you the Special Representative of Ukraine on Transnistrian settlements, Mr. Viktor Kryzhanivskyi, who is dealing with this specific issue for quite a while. And I think that he is the right person to approach when you're interested in this issue. So, Your Excellency, thank you very much for the possibility to meet with you. And maybe please present your vision or vision of Ukraine on the situation in Transnistria, Ukrainian role, maybe role of Romania, and then we will go to questions from our colleagues from Romania.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. I'm glad that the issue of Transnistria is interesting for international community, because sometimes people say that we forget about the frozen conflicts, which does not bring us closer to their solution. As my friend just told you, I'm dealing with Transnistria for second time. It's my second term in the same capacity of a special representative. First time it was 2008-2010. Now the second term is approaching also 2 years. Why I'm mentioning my days, because when I was dealing with the Transnistria for the first time, and then I compared when I returned from Estonia, where I worked as ambassador, and I should say that nothing actually has changed in this part of Moldova. Well, actually, we are still working on the important issues for people which live on both banks of Dniester River, such as socio-economic problems, trying to make their lives easier. But the main purpose why international community has organized these formats for negotiations like 3+2, 5+2, and why Ukraine is so much interested in participating in these formats of negotiations is to bring closer the political solution of the conflict, which means that Ukraine strongly supports sovereignty and territorial integrity of Moldova, and this position is firm, and we shall do our best to assist our Moldovan friends to achieve this goal sooner or later. Maybe it's better, of course, sooner. But unfortunately, there are players in this game, like Russian Federation, which is very much interested in having this region of tension, because if you look at the map, you will see all the regions surrounding Russian Federation. They are in extremely bad condition, they are unsecure, and that's what their aim is, to keep this insecurity there. That is why it is really hard for us, I mean negotiators in this Transnistria conflict settlement process, to start negotiating on political settlement. What I mean by political settlement is finding the best status for Transnistria within the Republic of Moldova, as a integral part of the Republic of Moldova. There are some documents which are still being elaborated by Kishinev, and they have a new government. I hope that new government will foster this issue, will speed up preparation of a document which will be presented to Transnistrian authorities, and then we can start negotiating on status of Transnistria, even if Russian Federation is not ready, because this will be first of all bilateral document, Kishinev-Tiraspol. If we can call it bilateral, because it's two parts of one country, so you should understand me properly, correctly. I was in Moldova for some time ago when they had this crisis in the country. I was trying to speak to both sides. Now you know that situation is much more clear. We have government, we have parliament, we have president in Moldova, which we do hope will continue the course for the Euro integration. But these are words just which are not directly linked to Transnistria, but it depends very much on the position of the new government, how the situation will evolve in this part of the country. During my visit, which I already mentioned, I met with Vasily Shova. He is now Vice Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova. He is a good friend of mine from the first time when I was in the same capacity. We are very friendly, we can talk on any issue actually. And he told me that they are finalizing the proposals for the Transnistria. I put the question, is there a word federalization? He said, no, Victor, forget it. There is no such a word. Although politicians, diplomats, they understand that even if you don't put the word federalization there, but you can put, everything, the content of the document will be kind of, not very suitable for all sides. But Vasyl Shova is a very wise diplomat, and of course he will try to find the compromise decisions. Ukraine will be ready to participate in their negotiations after they both will be ready to present to international community their proposals. But I do hope, as one of the mediators, that I will receive it sooner than all the rest of the international community. Very soon, on July 12, we shall have the meeting 3+2 in Chisinau, and then we shall travel to Tiraspol to check on the current state of affairs, and maybe we'll try to elaborate, to help sides to elaborate the documents which I already mentioned. Maybe we shall put forward some proposals. So that's how things are. I'm cautiously optimistic because I spoke to Prime Minister of Moldova. I spoke to the new Prime Minister, spoke to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, which stand ready to proceed with the work on the soonest reintegrating of this part of the country into the body of the Republic of Moldova. So, they highly evaluate also the assistance rendered by Ukraine, because we have similar, as you well know, similar problems. Our territory is occupied by foreign troops, Russian Federation. We have occupied Crimea and Donbas region, which is well known. And so, while we are speaking on the reunification of Transnistria, we are bearing in mind the precedent which it can put for us. The documents which we are working on with the Transnistrian authorities and authorities of the Republic of Moldova in general will be soon, I think, finalized, and then we shall be ready to present to you maybe some more news. That's the general picture which might be interesting for you. As for Romania, Romania is a great friend of Ukraine and Moldova. So we had the meeting in Odessa. It was June 11, if I'm not mistaken, with your foreign minister. I was together with our foreign minister. So at that time, it was not clear the outcome of the crisis in Moldova. So we were trying to elaborate the position Your minister asked us our opinion on what kind of position could be suitable for EU, because Romania is chairing EU Council. So we discussed it, and both sides agreed that Ukraine and Romania should be very active in the Transnistria settlement, because you have a strong influence in the country, and you have strong ties with Moldova, with the authorities, with their population. So you can help the international community to find compromise decisions on the reintegrating of the Transnistria into the Republic of Moldova. I hope it will happen someday, maybe sooner than somebody thinks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for this outline of position and situation on the ground. Dear friends, colleagues, if you have some questions, please indicate. Name yourself and media present. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Victor Kozmei. I'm from Hot News. You said something about precedent, and my question is, do you think that solving the Transnistrian problem as soon as possible, as you said, could mean for Ukraine a possible resolve in Crimea or Donbass? Could be an example for that resolve?
Yes, I'm speaking about the president in terms of the status, you know, because there are some politicians, and take the Russian Federation, they would like to see Ukraine federalized, which is not our position. We have our unified, how we call it, unitary state, and it will remain such, you know, in the future. That is why for us it's important that in Moldova, as authorities want, they should be sovereign and unified, you know, not federalized, but unified, with a special status for Transnistria as it's outlined in the documents of the international community, like OSCE. So there are both special status. So when the time will be right for us to speak to the Russian Federation on their withdrawal of their troops from our territory and bringing this territory back to Ukraine, of course they will condition it with a status, special status or whatever. I'm not in a position to tell you what will be our position, because it's not my issue, Donbass. I do follow it very carefully and attentively, but I cannot tell you our position on some or details on Ukraine's position, which we shall have when we start negotiating with the Russian Federation. So it will be seen sooner. But as for the president, of course, you know how international organizations work. And for more than 27 years in diplomacy, and I was dealing mostly with international organizations. If they have adopted somewhere, in regard to some conflict or whatever, then they take this document and go to solve another conflict, you know, or problem. And they said, well, you agreed on the wording in that place. Why you cannot agree on the same wording in this place, you know? It's very fragile process, so we should be very careful on the words which will be put into the document to be discussed by Kryzhanivskyi and Tiraspol. Of course, it's their priority to decide what they want, and they will decide. But if they will need expert help or any other kind of assistance, Ukraine is already there. So we are in the permanent contact, like also other participants of negotiations.
Thank you. Please.
Marian Voicu, Romanian Public Television. Your Excellency, two questions. How you gonna manage the border between Transnistria and Ukraine in the future? And the second, how do you see the presence of 14th Army in Transnistria?
The first question, we don't have Ukraine-Transnistria border. We have Ukraine-Moldova border, state border. So, and as such, it's being for us very important to have good order on that piece of our of our border in general. So on Transnistria segment, we have already started to put a joint control with the Moldovans, which are located on our side, and this process will soon be finalized. So it will act as any other border that we have with Romania, for example. So I don't see a huge difference. It functions the same with all the neighbors, actually, except for Russia, of course, as aggressor state. Maybe some nuances with Belarus, but all the rest it's quite the same. So, and the second question?
The presence of 14 army in Transnistria, how do you see this presence?
Well, in 1999 in Istanbul, I was there in Istanbul, Yeltsin put his signature taking obligation to withdraw their troops in couple of years, so it never happened. But the document is still alive, so nobody forgets about it. That is why we stand for the soonest implementation of the, although it's political document, of course, it's not legally binding. We stand for the soonest and fullest implementation of the political obligation that Russian Federation took upon themselves to withdraw their troops. Well, it's a remnant of the 14th Army, about 2,000 strong, but nobody knows for sure how many of them. And there are also arms and ammunition in Kolbasna, which also must be withdrawn from Transnistria region of the Republic of Moldova. So our firm position is, and the position of the international community, which also agreed to adopt this decision in Istanbul. There were at that time 55 states, now there are more, or maybe less. But it's a political binding document, we should fulfill it. So that's why on every occasion we support Moldova wherever they speak about the withdrawal and the fulfillment of this obligation, like United Nations, for example. We support Moldova in the intention to make this process as speedy as possible, because this part of region for us is very important in terms of security, you know. And when you don't know for sure how many of military men of Russia are there, how many ammunition they have, and nobody lets international community to check the Kolbasna, for example. That is why we have also strong military presence on our side in the region bordering the Transnistria part of the Republic of Moldova. Yes, I hope that Russian Federation, we hope, Ukraine hopes that Russian Federation will fulfill its obligation as soon as possible, and we shall insist on that. But together with Romania, Moldova, and Slovakia.
Excuse me for insisting, do you see those two items, these issues connected? I mean, the Transnistrian political problem and the presence of 14 army, they are connected for you?
What do you mean by political problem?
I mean, how Chisinau will solve the Transnistrian problem for you is connected with the presence of 14 army? I mean, it's a danger for you as Ukraine, the presence of 14 army?
Yes, it's a danger for Ukraine. That is why we insist on fulfillment by the Russian Federation of their obligation, which they took consciously, and to withdraw their troops from that part of the Republic of Moldova. But when I spoke to new authorities of the Republic of Moldova, at that time it was a crisis moment. But what I heard is very satisfying. So nobody has any new ideas. They stick to the same position that Russian troops should be withdrawn. So how it will be implemented, maybe some tactical decisions will be taken. I don't know. But bearing in mind that they have also a socialist party, which in coalition, which has good ties with the Russian Federation, maybe this will help also to convince Russians to take their troops from there. But sincerely, no one can convince but themselves, you know.
Thank you. Any other questions in this common? Please.
Cosmin Popuraru, Geopolitical Magazine. It's link in your opinion, it's a link between conflicts and frozen conflicts and energy deposits or energy transit infrastructures?
In the Transnistrian conflict?
Or Crimean conflict or Donbass and Lugansk conflict?
Well, as I said, of course I can speculate on any issue, but since I'm dealing with Transnistria and Moldova, so I can tell you that there are no such issues as energy. We have Russian gas which is being transported by our territory, through our territory to the Republic of Moldova, to the Transnistrian region. But it's not a big issue, so I don't see that this conflict is somehow related to the energy issues.
Okay, so from Romania, we know that what the people in Moldova feel about Transnistria. Tell us a little bit what Ukrainian people near Transnistria feel about the situation there. You know, the normal people. How do they feel about the situation there, about the presence of Russian troops?
Russian troops?
How do the people feel?
Well, Russians living in Transnistria in favor of having
No, I'm
Russians.
talking about Ukrainian people near Transnistria. Well, what's the
Well,
sentiment?
you mean the ammunition, arms and ammunition, stockpiles of arms and ammunition, or in general?
In general, the feeling of the people, how do they feel
Well,
there?
of course they feel insecure, because nobody knows what Putin will plan for their troops, you know, in the future. He can use them against Ukraine, and well-trained 2,000 personnel can do more harm than a couple of battalions, you know, of ordinary military. So that is why it's for them it's insecurity, of course, and the ammunition which is stockpiled there, so it's insecurity. Because if something goes wrong, it blows up, it will destroy not just Kabasne, but much bigger area. That is why, yes, but as I said, we have now a stronger presence, military presence over there, bearing in mind Russian aggression against Ukraine. So I think that people, to be frank, I didn't speak to those people, you know, on our territory, but in Transnistria as well, I didn't speak. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. So if we exhausted questions on this level of common Q&A, we have time slot for exclusive some comments from ambassador, and there was one volunteer kind of. So please, you can approach here. If you have also need for short comments, your questions for exclusive comment from ambassador, please.